Are you neglecting your equipment? Now, we talked about your brand new car and how you treat it differently than from your 5-year-old car. Are you neglecting your 5-year-old car? Okay. I guess it depends on my definition of neglect, right? Is not washing and waxing your car neglect? Okay. Could be a form of that. So let's think about our equipment here. Now, I'm going to show you some very disturbing slides. Okay. Hopefully, none of our facilities look like this. And for any of our younger audiences, less than 18, you can leave the room. Okay? Leaks. How many people have equipment that leak? Good, I'm glad for that. But do you accept leaks as a matter of fact for equipment? It's a piece of equipment, it's got lubricants and stuff spraying around, it's going to leak. We do not want to have that mindset. No piece of equipment should leak. And certainly we don't want to have that aspect of this. What do you think the number one safety issue with this facility was? Slips and falls. You don't even have to look at the chart, do you? Can you imagine why? Okay, very bad. And do you think the countermeasure of this absorbent hog is helping? No, pretty pitiful. Okay, here's another picture of a leak. Okay, this is a piece of grinding equipment, and they throw the coolant on it, and they're supposed to have these mist collectors that collect it up through the hose. Okay, so they're spraying a lot of coolant. Now, if you notice, and it's hard to see, but if you see where the arrow is, you see a dripping. That's a dripping of a leak. Into the bucket, which you see is full, and drips onto the machine. So we got a lot of issues going on here. Now, has anybody gone camping? Has it been raining? Have you ever had a water puddle in your tent above you in the ceiling? If you went up to this hose, took your hand under it, just like that, it was full of fluid. You just didn't want to touch it because it was going to bust any moment. So I looked at that and said, wow, that's a problem. Now, if I was doing gimbal walks, would I have noticed it? Hopefully. Okay, absolutely. So I looked at that, and I've been working at that facility for a few days, and that went on for like 3 days, just like that. And I'm thinking, that's unacceptable. So I went to maintenance and said, excuse me, do you guys know about this problem? Oh, yeah, we knew about it last week. All right, what are you going to do? Just curious. Well, yeah, we got to go drain that. What do you think the countermeasure for this was? Okay, yeah, they wanted a bigger bucket there. But what did they do with the hose? They replaced it. Okay, it's got a leak in it. It's got a hole in it. It's leaking. Okay, for you guys that are really good, what's going to happen a few months from now? It's going to fill back up because did we ask the 5 whys and get to the root cause? No, we got to the symptom of it. And if you would have known before, their whole system on the mister, they had ganged these up so they were going to one mister, and the mister was overloaded. So it wasn't able to pull the mist out. So it wasn't going to work. So they had to come up with something different. It had just been a temporary fix. So now we had to get them to see, let's solve the problem so it doesn't happen again. Let's look at what our mist collection system is supposed to do. What's it rated for? What are we going to do differently instead of just replace the hose? Okay, here's a dirty air filter. When do you think the last time that was changed or cleaned? You don't even have to look at a report for that one, do you? How about this filter? Good shape or bad shape? Okay, look at those fans. When you don't have a good maintenance system in there, what are you going to see? It's not going to be pretty. Okay, here's a keypad on one of the CNC pieces of equipment that the operator had to use every single day and do setups. Are we making their jobs easier and better? Now, they did attempt to write in magic marker a couple of the numbers there, but I asked the operator how you knew. Well, I memorized it. And, I look. Is that a good system? So are we making jobs easier and better for operators? No, we should have replaced that keypad. There should be no excuse for having controls you don't know what they are. Pieces of equipment were broken. This was a cover over a vibratory bowl that was really loud. So they put the cover on it to prevent noise, and it broke. So now we have a broken piece of equipment, something could get cut on and still was loud. Broken windshields on the piece of equipment. You see lubricant flying there, causing more leaks. This is the gauge table where they do their quality checks. Kind of a hole in the table, huh? Yeah, fit it through there. So looking at this company, knowing this is quality equipment that they're checking, how good do you think the quality of their pieces are? I'd question it. Here's one, poorly directed exhaust. So they're taking an exhaust from this motor, it's going up through this hose, and it's spraying right onto the equipment. And here's a worse one. They don't even have the hose, and it coming straight down onto the equipment. People here worked every single day, 2 shifts in this kind of environment. So I say that they're actually neglecting their equipment. What do you think? Okay. Now, does anybody have a facility that bad? Thank goodness. Okay. But now look at how we do. Don't sit back and say, well, gosh, Mike, our plant's not that bad, so we're doing pretty good. Look at how you view your equipment. Are you actually neglecting it? Are you forcing it into extinction? Are you actually forcing the deterioration of your equipment ahead of time? That's what you need to look at. And we certainly don't want to have our equipment looking like that. One of the things you're going to need to look at, there's been studies on this, but the major causes of breakdown, usually contamination and lack of lubrication cause 75% of the breakdowns. So what kind of system do you have in place to make sure that your lubrication is properly done with the proper lubricants at the proper times? And what are we looking at contamination? Are we allowed to filter out to make sure that things are clean and dirty and it's not being contaminated? Focus on those 2 things first. What kind of system you have, you're probably going to make a big impact on your machine uptime just with those 2 items. Quiz. Name 3 things wrong. There's probably more, but name a couple in one. They got the absorbent pad there instead of solving what the problem is for the leaking.
Push buttons are not labeled.
Not labeled, so you don't know what they are?
You don't know what's behind the pad?
Don't know what's behind the pad, so things are hidden. Filthy. Oh, it's filthy. Yes, that is a really filthy piece of equipment. And there's probably more there. Yeah, the guarding. Yep. Now, I've got a question for you. Anyone who operates a power press, what should you have for an emergency? Okay, where's the emergency stop? Okay, if you look all the way to the far side, you can see a red button back there in the upper left-hand corner. Now, this was a 2-person operation. There was a person on the front and the back. So legally, what do you need to have? 2 e-stops. Yes, there is an e-stop on this side. Which one is it? Quick, come on, emergency, which? Yellow one. Wrong. Bottom one. Okay, emergency stop is an emergency. You need to hit that button fast. You can't sit there and think about it. Okay? After doing a quick 5S, we said, oh my gosh, that is the button. The bottom one. It was so coked with dirt and grime, it was brown. You couldn't see the red. If there was an emergency, when you did the 5 Ys and someone lost a limb, hopefully we don't ever have that, but can you say that what the problem was and could we have prevented that? I couldn't live with myself if we did that. That we actually hurt someone because of our neglect. So the first thing we did is started the 5S there, started cleaning the machine. That's usually the very first thing you do with TPM is a cleaning. And there's a deeper meaning that cleaning we'll get to, but cleaning the machine is one of the first priorities that you got to do. Now we have to have a culture in our shift, in our companies. A lot of times we don't have time to study it, just fix it. How many people have a culture like that? We don't really need to get to the root cause. Just fix it, get that machine up and running again. We got an order to get out. We get lured into that. We've been doing it this way for 20 years. You can fill in the blank with how many years you want to do it with no changes. Why should we change now? And we can't afford to prevent problems or fix it all now. We're just going to delay and push off as long as possible. We don't have the money in the budget. Are those things that we not normally hear in our processes? Well, we need to change some of that.